Well, hello, and welcome on into the Real Men Eat Plants podcast. What is up? We are doing something completely and utterly different today because we damn well can. Yes, that's right. My name is Rich Reynolds, along with a cast of contributors that is hard to beat anywhere in the podcast universe. Eric Rogers is here. Sean Thompson is here. Lon Tremain-Woodcock, and we are talking nothing but football right after we talk baseball and right after I tell you about realmeneatplants.com. That's where you want to go to find out about our website. Click on the support button, like and subscribe to our podcast, all of that kind of good stuff. Take the 30-day challenge, read the blogs, find us on our YouTube channel, social media, at Eric Rogers Brand, and then you can find me at RMEP Rich, and Sean and Lon you cannot find on Twitter because they have very smartly stayed their asses off of Twitter, which is always very nice. I wish I would have done that because I absolutely freaking hate Twitter.
You can't do hashtag MILFs, though, without being on Twitter.
Yeah, Lon wearing the I Love MILFs shirt with his Lions hat. Eric in his Jordy Nelson gear. Sean, was there no Joe Flacco Jets jersey available for you?
I would have probably went Richard Todd, actually.
Oh, my goodness. From way back in the day, playing at Chase Stadium. Richard Todd, good old number 14. Is that right?
That is correct.
I don't know why it's easier for me to remember guys from the 80s than it is for me to remember guys from today, but it just is.
Probably when your brain used to work.
Yeah, that is how it works. So before we get into football, and we got lots of football to talk, baseball is on my mind right now because some new rules are coming down the pike. Sean's already shaking his head. I don't know how Eric feels about it. So a couple of changes, or well, actually three big ones. One, pitch clock. So pitch clock is 15 seconds with nobody on base, 20 seconds with somebody on base. You have to throw the ball, otherwise they issue the pitcher a ball. Or if the batter's actually not ready and in the box, he will take a strike. That's how it works. I've been watching minor league games.
Moving.
I love it. I tell you what, I watched a minor league game the other day with the Beloit Sky Carp. All right. Now, it was a game that ended
Sky Carp.
Yeah, by the way.
They're not the snappers anymore?
No, which,
they used to be the Beloit snappers.
Snappers is like a good word for cooter or cooch or something like that. So I kind of like that.
Maybe where you're from. I never heard that one.
It's a snapper? You never heard it called a snapper?
I wouldn't put
an innocent man.
Never mind.
Okay. Sky carp is grosser. All right. So sky carp are geese that don't fly south for the winter. They basically call sky carp. Carp are like bottom feeders, and then the geese basically eat garbage and whatever they could find all winter long and stay in Beloit. And that's what they decided to name their team after.
Nobody stays in Beloit.
And if you ever been to Beloit, they named Beloit after the sound of a turd hitting the toilet. Beloit?
I thought it was a nickel, but whatever. It's true. Anyways, I watched a game with the Beloit Sky Carp. This game, they ended up losing 6-4. It went 9 innings, though. 10 runs were scored. There were multiple pitching changes. It was over in 2 hours and 22 minutes because of that pitch clock. Let me tell you, it is the greatest thing ever. I love watching baseball that way. It's get in the box, get ready to hit, pitcher throw the frickin' ball. There's no dinking around. They used to have that guy, do you remember, on the Dodgers a few years ago, Pedro Baez. That guy was literally taking 60 seconds between pitches. I mean, you want to tell about putting people to sleep? That's how you put people to sleep. The other way works great. So if you want to speed up the game, pitch clock, awesome.
I think that's a good argument, though, of like, I am not really a big baseball fan. I do like watching my Brewers on occasion, but it's just so boring. I'd almost rather watch golf. It's like you sit there forever to like finally see something happen. And I think that just proves the point. If you have to speed up the game to make it more exciting, then it must be boring.
I don't think it's speeding it up to make it more exciting. I think it's speeding it up because games are 3.5, 4 hours long. It doesn't mean there's not excitement in there. So, I mean,
people's attention span is like crap, So
maybe that's my problem.
That could be it too. So I like it. I mean, it makes it faster. I mean, seriously, 4-hour games are way too freaking long. It's hard to invest that much time on a Tuesday night when you got to work early the next day.
Yeah, watch like a 14-inning game or some shit.
And Sean knows better than anyone, because if you see a Yankees-Red Sox game, it could be a 2-1 game that goes 9 innings and it takes 3 hours and 49 minutes to complete, and it makes you want to blow your freaking skull open. I mean, it's
you watch it for 4 hours and your team loses.
Exactly. So 2 hours, 22 minutes. I love it. And there were 10 runs scored and like 4 or 5 pitching changes. It was absolutely wonderful. So I'm a huge fan of this. The bigger bases, I couldn't give two shits about. I really don't care either way. It's supposed to encourage stealing and stuff like that. I don't think anybody cares either way about that. If there's a few more stolen attempts, stolen base attempts per year, great. All right. The last thing really freaking pisses me off. No more shifting, which means
Hallelujah.
No, stop it, man. Stop it. No.
Yes.
Okay, hold on. All right. So what they're going to require is 2 infielders on each side of second base, and their feet have to be on the dirt, so they can't play like in short right field against the left-handed puller.
Why does it matter where the hell they play, though?
Well, because here's the thing. I know that if they were all shifting me to pull, my ass would bunt every single time. I would take that bag, and I'd be really happy about it, and I'd be hitting freaking 600.
Rich. Unwritten rules. You can't do that. You can't do it.
Unwritten
That's
rules, man.
Fucking dumb. Why are there unwritten rules? Play the game. It's like we talked about.
Rules.
I am
Well,
not
we talked about
an unwritten rules
NFL,
guy.
Rich. We talked about Aaron Rodgers taking advantage of the people running off the field and snapping the ball. So why is baseball any different?
And those are
Why can't you
written
just take
rules,
advantage
though.
of the
Those are
rules?
actually written. The unwritten rules, the ones that Sean are talking about. I mean, I hate the unwritten rules.
I'm such a
Yeah.
gentleman because baseball.
No,
Fucking
don't.
you're there to win.
It's so dumb. You can't show emotion after hitting a home run. No bat flipping.
Yeah, that's nonsense.
No showing anyone else.
Bunting
That's
with
so
a
dumb.
no-hitter.
Yeah. No bunting in the 7th inning with a no-hitter, but it depends on how many runs that you're, ahead. But after the 7th inning, you can't bunt. It's like, this is
I'd be the
crap,
biggest
man.
asshole ever if I played baseball, but I'm afraid of the ball, so fuck me.
It's kind of hard to play that. So anyways, that just had my dander up a little bit, some of those rules. I hate the no shift thing because I just think guys should be able to hit the ball to where they aren't playing you, and you should be able to do very well if you got enough back control to do it. It should be pretty damn easy, but I guess it's not that simple.
I'm glad. Do away with the shifts. Maybe guys will hit more than 220 now.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Joey loves it. Joey's a left-handed hitter. Sometimes they'll shift him. He'll just hit a regular ground ball to short. It's a hit every time. He's like, Dad, there's a guy on second base and they're shifting me. He goes, if I just hit a ground ball to short, it's a run. So he takes it. And it's like, why wouldn't you? And why wouldn't you be a good enough hitter to be able to do such a thing? Anyways, this is a football show. We are talking some football and NFL, college football. I want to hit it all. I want to start with college football at least a little bit before we transition into the National Football League. I was just watching Louisville and UCF going on right now. It's actually a pretty entertaining game for two teams that aren't going to mean a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. But we kind of broke it down a little bit on this podcast. Was it earlier this week? I think it was, talking about some of the games that I've seen so far in college football, which I love. I mean, there have been big games with big student crowds into the games and some really good matchups early on. One I thought was going to be a good matchup involved Sean's team that he was just covering for the last half dozen years down in Georgia, the Georgia Bulldogs taking on Oregon. I'm thinking, oh man, good football game. This should be all right. What the hell was the final of that game, ST?
49-3.
Oh my goodness.
They're looking a little foolish.
Yeah, what is going on with UGA? I mean, how good is this team coming off a national championship? I was thinking, okay, maybe they take a little dip. They lost a ton of guys to the NFL. If anything, I mean, after game one, they look better than last year.
Well, I think they're better offensively. And to your point, they lost 8 guys off their defense from last year. And 5 went in the first round of the NFL draft. So
they
they came back just with not Trayvon Walker, but just their defense is incredible. But offensively, I think that Stetson Bennett now in year number 2 as the starting, 3 technically as the starting quarterback, I think he's just playing with a lot of confidence. He showed it in the game on last week against Oregon. But they just have skilled position weapons everywhere, and that's the difference. And defensively, they just reloaded. I mean, they still had some key pieces come back, but they just reloaded. They just had a whole other shift of defensive guys come in that get after the ball, quick, fast defense. Oregon had no chance. I mean, if Oregon was the 11th ranked team in the country, then Georgia's number 1 by a mile.
Absolutely. I mean, unbelievable. And that, by the way, was one of the best breakdowns of the SEC since the 1988 Playboy issue of Girls of the SEC, which, check it out, the October issue, unbelievable. You're going to love it. You're going to be glad.
Why?
Is this a joke?
Why?
I don't know. I'm pulling stuff out of my ass.
Why? You just wired different, man. Why?
I am. I'm completely wired differently. But no, excellent breakdown. I think Georgia, is one of those teams that obviously is going to be there at the end. At least I don't see who the hell stops them.
No, and they don't have Alabama during the regular season.
Yeah.
Alabama will be the one team because they also, I know it's Utah State, but they looked really, really good. And Bryce Young could be that guy that moves Archie Griffin over in his back-to-back Heisman campaign.
You know what's really weird too? You went from SEC country where football is king, and if anybody hasn't ever been through SEC country or lived down there, let me tell you this. I mean, they follow kids who are freshmen in high school all the way up through college, and they talk about it. I mean, sports talk about it, about these kids that are coming and where they're going to go. Signing day in the South. Oh my goodness. National Signing Day is unbelievable, isn't it?
It's also very creepy because you have grown-ass men 30 and 40 years old screaming about where an 18-year-old kid's going to spend the next 4 years.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's ridiculous there.
Dude, the body on this kid. Okay.
The South is just different because 3:30, I was at a sports bar with my mom last week for Georgia, Oregon. It was just me and her and like one other person. You go to a sports bar in Atlanta at 3:30, you're probably not getting in because people have been there since noon drinking, getting ready for the game at 3:30. It's just a different vibe.
It is, and football down there is absolutely nuts. But then you go from the SEC, now you're in Pac-12 country, so Sean's in Phoenix now. So talk about that, because that's a little bit of a different vibe. You got Arizona State there, but it's not really a college town or a college state, is it?
No, it's really not. And honestly, the Pac-12 might not even be a conference in a couple of years.
Yeah, that's true.
They're losing USC and UCLA, and depending on where everything else shapes up, I mean, it might not be a conference. And so, Pac-12 is just – and they took a huge hit last week. They had a chance to showcase. They had 2 teams in primetime matchups. You had Oregon, obviously, with Georgia. They lose 49-3. And then you had Utah and Florida. And Florida, from the SEC, beats Utah. So pretty much, Pac-12 season's over, everybody. Thanks for coming out.
Right. Who would think, too? Yeah, one of the bigger games this weekend, Florida hosting Kentucky in the SEC, kidding. A battle of ranked teams. That's actually like a big game. All of a sudden, early season SEC matchup there. So, interesting stuff. I love college football. One of the things I love about college football that I think that they have all over the NFL is something that I just saw in the Louisville UCF game before going on the air. Replay. And so a guy is going like out of bounds. It's a questionable catch whether or not he got a foot down. And so rather than a coach deciding, oh, is this the time that I got to bring my red flag out? And even if he does and he gets it right, he still loses that first challenge no matter what. That thing's gone forever. So what happens? They go ahead. They just stop the game. Hey, it's a questionable call. Replay. It took about 45 seconds. They had called it incomplete. Turns out, nope, it's a catch. All right. They move on with it. Everybody could see on TV it was a catch. Wonderful job. Move on with your life. Excellent. Way better than the National Football League. Also better than...
That's fine as long as they end up, going back and looking at the questionable calls, because they got to make a call at some point.
They do, but they're actually really good at it. And the other thing they were good at, too, and I was watching it, and Eric and I have talked about it. We talked about it again earlier this week. So a late sub comes in for Louisville on offense. All right. So the ref on the sideline is holding his arms out, which kind of stops play. It doesn't stop the clock. You're just not allowed to snap it until he brings his arms back in. So as this guy's coming onto the field, now he's got to keep his arms out because also the other team is allowed to substitute. So on defense now you're allowed to sub. I love that rule. In the NFL, what you end up doing, you try to catch guys with their pants down, and you got a guy, and again, we talked about this with Aaron Rodgers. A player's got 1 foot on the field and 1 foot out of bounds. He snaps the ball, and now it's a free play. It's not even a 5-yard penalty. He gets to chuck the ball 50 yards downfield, which I think is completely asinine. College has it all over the NFL as far as rules go and what have you. So, okay, anybody else got anything college-related that they would like to share, talk about?
Well, Sweeney's Clemson deal. He's got a 10-year deal at Clemson extension to 2031, which is like 1 year longer than Saban, so that's kind of interesting.
I know a lot of people thought Sweeney was going to be Saban's replacement at some point because obviously he played at Alabama.
Well, there's specific language in there, in that contract. Yeah. That's crazy.
And when I saw Saban got another extension, I'm like, this dude's never leaving. Like he's just
no kidding
until he's 85.
You know what, though? Those contracts are earned. Mel Tucker's contract at Michigan State, I cannot understand how the hell he did that. I mean, talk about a guy who's got, some kind of dirt on the chancellor or something like that at Michigan State. But the fact that guy signs like one of the richest deals in college football is beyond me because Mel Tucker hasn't proven jack shit yet as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, he literally put the ski mask on and was like,
I mean, good for him. You know what? Hell yeah! If I can get away with it, I would totally do that. I mean, good for him. I'm not belying him that, and he's a Wisconsin guy, and he coached at Wisconsin for a while. I mean, good for him. Way to take advantage.
Mel Tucker money doing this podcast?
Yeah. I wish I could. I wish I could make Mel Tucker's son's money, and I think he's working at a Culver's somewhere. Anyways, that's our college football stuff. When we come back, I really want to hit the NFL hard. We got a lot to talk about NFL-wise. Last night's game, the Rams and the Bills, which I can't believe was as much of a blowout as it was last night. But Matthew Stafford, Lon, became Matthew Stafford again. As the Lions are going to lion, Stafford's going to Stafford. He is going to find a way to throw the ball to the other football team. We will talk about that and all kinds of NFL when we get back.